Okay, this is a review question. If the secant of theta is 5/3, then that tells me the cosine of theta is 3/5. It says draw a triangle, so that is going to be here. Here's my theta. Remember, cosine is A/h, so my adjacent is 3. My hypotenuse is 5. Well, what's the third side? It has to be 4. How did I know that? I can use the Pythagorean theorem, but 3, 4, 5 is always a triangle. It says find the sine of theta. Remember, sine of theta, that's O/h. So in this case, that's 4/5. Because here's my theta, that's opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Okay. Number 8 asks us to write an equation, a cosine function whose amplitude is 4, so that tells me A equals 4. My period is 2 pi. So if the period is 2 pi, 2 pi over b equals 2 pi. That means my b has to equal 1. That's my default. The horizontal shift tells me that c equals pi over 2. It doesn't tell me which way to shift. Okay, it doesn't tell you which way to shift. So there are technically 2 answers for this. One answer could be this, 4 cosine. You don't really have to write the 1 if you don't want to. Just like that. Or you could write y equals 4 cosine of x plus pi over 2. Doesn't tell you if the horizontal shift is to the left or the right, so you can do plus pi over 2 inside or minus pi over 2. And there's not there's not a vertical shift, so there is not a d value. Okay. The question asks, are the highest and lowest value of the graph? So what's the maximum and min? All right. Well, if my amplitude is 6 and my vertical shift is 2, that tells me, okay, if my amplitude is 6, I'm going 6 units up and 6 units down. 6 units above my baseline, so 6 units above 2, so 2 plus 6 gives me 8, and 6 units below my baseline of 2, so 2 minus 6 gives me -4. All right, write the equation for the graph below. I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to do one for sine and one for cosine over here. You just pick one. Doesn't matter, whatever one's your favorite. Let's start with sine first. What's the A value? Remember, the A value is the middle. All right, so the middle of our maximum and our minimum. You can count off the middle, okay? If this is 2 all the way up here, then, and there's 4 units in between, and that means this is 1. If this is -2, then this is -1. Then this is -3. All right, well, what's our A value? Well, there's 6 units in between here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 6 divided by 2 gives me an amplitude of 3. That tells me, doesn't tell me my B, but does tell me my D value. My D value means my baseline, the middle, is at -1 because there are 3 units above and 3 units below, so it's down 1 or -1. My B, okay, if I'm looking at sine starts at the base, okay, starts at the baseline. So let's start at our baseline. I don't know, we could start here. Goes up to the max, back to the base, down to the min, up to the max. So this is right here is, I know this graph is not great, but we're just going to have to battle. That's -pi over 4, and this is 3 pi over 4. Okay? So my period is pi. Well, how did I get that? The period I got from adding pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4. Okay? How long is it from here? It's 1 pi. All right, so my b value, 2 pi over b equals pi times b, 2 pi equals pi b equals 2. And lastly, my c is my phase shift. Well, if I went left, pi over 4. So for sine, it would be 3 sine of 2x plus pi over 4 minus 1. The difference between sine and cosine would be that, all right, the period would be the same, okay, because the period of cosine, I start at the max, I go to the base, down to the min, back to the base, and up, back to the max. The amplitude is still 3. The period is still pi. So our b value still has to be 2. Our c value, there is none. Our d value, though, is still minus 1. So I think cosine in this case would be easier because there is not a horizontal or phase shift. You would just write that. You may use double parentheses if you want. You don't have to, but I would just write that. You could do a negative sine or a negative cosine as well, all right? But, you know, if you did a negative cosine, your c would be left pi over 2. Your phase shift would just be different, okay? That's it. Let me know if you have any questions.